Hi guys, it's Majesty Bianca here with the Financial Drive-Thru, and we're going to talk about the ETF decision by the SEC. They've denied another one. We're going to take a look at a few headlines, and we're basically going to look over what it means for you and what to do in a bear market. So that's it. Let's drive through. So here we see the US SEC expresses denial as the verdict on ProShares Bitcoin ETF. Now, the SEC has expressed its rejection to the two proposals by the ProShares on Bitcoin ETF, so there were two of them. Now, the Commission emphasizes that its disapproval does not rest on an evaluation of whether or not Bitcoin or the blockchain technology more generally has utility or value as an innovation or an investment. They still don't feel the exchanges are going to be able to put adequate coverage against fraudulent and manipulative acts, and so it's still a no. So okay, why an ETF? Why is everybody making such a big deal about it? I figure that there are a bunch of people who keep hearing this, and interestingly, that might also be what happened in the market. But the market actually behaved itself. I mean, there wasn't too big a sell-off. People didn't seem bothered by the news. So what does this mean? Does this mean the market is becoming more mature, or does it mean people just don't really give a shit anymore? As far as every crypto enthusiast is concerned, an ETF is what's going to be necessary to bring institutional money into the game. Think about it this way, ETFs are very similar to mutual funds, but the actual assets can be traded, it can be bought and traded on the exchange, unlike a mutual fund that's going to be fixed. What then happens is the ETF is going to be housed by a custodian. The underlying asset in this case is going to be Bitcoin, and then the custodian is going to be trading on behalf of people. So all the different ETFs that have come out are different variants of this. I believe the VanX Solid X Bitcoin ETF was going to be backed by actual Bitcoins, physical Bitcoins, and will also be insured. The ProShares ETF rather was supposed to be backed by Bitcoin futures, and then this is also another reason that the SEC gave for their denial. They don't buy that the Bitcoin futures market is big enough to be able to house this yet. So I mean, there's so many reasons that they give, but the main one is that they're still not sure there's protection against fraudulent and manipulative acts on the market. So there was this very interesting video by Andreas Antonopoulos. If you do not follow him, I recommend you do. I'm actually putting a link to his channel. It's popping up over my head right now. He's a very respected member of the community, and he had this video out. And we're just going to look at a few of the areas that I found very key. So what's interesting for me with this video is that he's actually against the ETFs. So everybody else, and I believe I speak for a large majority of Bitcoin users, I think that an ETF is going to be big. ETFs are going to be the way institutional money is going to come into the game. And that's when I think we can expect to see natural, actual, real highs in Bitcoin. So we're thinking Bitcoin 50K, Bitcoin 80K. And the only way this is going to happen is, I mean, 20K was a bluff. Think about it, it was just retail investors who were coming in based on hype and everybody talking about how they put in $100 today and they made 1,000. And so a lot of things are going to change. The way people were making money in 2017 is definitely not what crypto is going to be about in 2019. So what we want is a way to actually have institutional investors coming in, putting down the big bucks and all. Now, Andreas gave some very strong, very valid points about why, while he does believe that an ETF is still going to play out because he feels it's inevitable, it's going to happen. Now, he did also point out why it's bad for the actual ecosystem. And I mean, he made some really valid points. But again, one, knowing that it's going to happen, and two, knowing that we're all in the thick of it, it's hard to not want an ETF because, as far as I'm concerned, for cryptocurrencies to survive, there's going to be a heck of a large amount of centralization going on. All in the name of trust and keeping everybody safe, we're actually going to have to give up a large part of the centralization just for certain key cryptos to succeed. And this is my opinion. Let's take a look at the video and see what he had to say.
I'm going to burst your bubble. I know a lot of people really want to see an ETF happen because to the moon and Lambos and all of that. I think it's a terrible idea. I still think it's going to happen. I just think it's a terrible idea. I'm actually against ETFs. I think a Bitcoin ETF is going to be damaging to the ecosystem. And here's why. A Bitcoin ETF is basically going to be a very, very large custodial holder of Bitcoin. That large custodial holder of Bitcoin will hold Bitcoin on behalf of the shareholders and give them a traded share in that Bitcoin. But they don't give the owners of the ETF any of the responsibilities and rights that a key holder of Bitcoin has. So it will give institutional players access to Bitcoin, but it won't give them a voice in the consensus and governance of Bitcoin. That will be held by a centralized fund manager, and that centralized fund manager will speak on behalf of all of the people who have that exposure to the ETFs because they actually hold the keys to Bitcoin. That is a very bad thing. It's not going to be the end of Bitcoin. It is going to cause manipulation of the prices. It is going to cause manipulation of the debates about scaling decisions.
And then shortly after the announcement, we saw this other headline: the US SEC prepares to review its Bitcoin ETF rejection. So, I mean, this still points towards positivity. This is something that we could expect. Now, Brian Kelly from CNBC, he's of the opinion that this isn't going to happen till 2019 and they're just going to keep delaying it and all. I'm going to link that in the details section of the video so you can check it out if you find it interesting. But the fact that they've so far rejected 9 ETFs, and they're actually going over all these 9 to find out, I feel optimistic. I feel the market can only just do nothing but wait. And so that's kind of what we're seeing here with all the consolidation. There's a lot of sideways movement. The fact that the market is stable is a big deal. We're not out of the woods yet, and so this brings me down to, the last thing I wanted to talk about. What do we do with our investments? What do we do when we see the market looking like this? But I mean, you're already so knee deep in it that it's scary, the idea of buying more. But all I'm thinking is I look at this and I see bargain deals. And we never thought we'd see these lows anymore. Like I personally never thought I'd see Litecoin at $55. This is just ridiculous. It's kind of depressing when you come over here. I mean, NEO is at 17. My beloved NEO is at $17. Ah! So what I'm doing personally is I'm scaling in on crypto. I'm buying a little Bitcoin at every low, just a little bit, just because I don't know where the bottom is going to actually be. I mean, nobody knows these things. Bitcoin could very easily just drop all the way down, probably over some silly news. It still happens. The fact that it didn't happen with the ETF doesn't mean that we're past that. It just probably means that the market also was expecting it to get rejected. And personally, I see the VanEck SolidX ETF as the one that's probably going to get picked up first. And, it's going to be the gateway to everything else. I think the SEC is actually supposed to report back on that one at the end of September 30th. But they are still very much allowed to postpone this. I think they might as well make us wait. So a lot of people believe that it's going to happen in 2019. I just know for sure it's going to happen. And so I'm resting on that and looking at the market. And so I really just want to tell people to develop a long-term approach to crypto, right? Let's try and forget about quick money. Quick money is done. Quick money isn't done if you land on a really, really good project and enough people jump on it for some reason. I mean, you still have to monitor the hype, but it's best to deal with crypto with a long-term approach. Be prepared to, it's best to deal with money, any form of money with a long-term approach. You want to plan ahead. That's why people have a 401k. That's why people are, saving up for the kids and all that. Plan ahead, okay? So don't just go all in and then regret. I wouldn't even say the market is playing games. I think institutional investors saw a market. They've identified that there's a lot that can be done with the blockchain. They've identified that there are opportunities for them to come in. And right now, all that's happening is enough manipulation to bring things back down to a level where they can come in and make profits. That said, thank you for watching. If you like this video, you like this kind of content, do smash the like button, hit the subscribe button so you can catch my videos as they drop. My name is Majesty Bianga, and I'll be with you in the next one.